Okay, so here we are in blue. Let's open simulation. So here I have an alarm display. This is an active alarm display. I can go ahead and I can turn my alarms on. I can click on a particular alarm, acknowledge it. I want to acknowledge all of these. So the acknowledge works really well when the alarm is active. But however, when it's returned, I can't acknowledge it. At least that's not the default option that we have available. But I want it to disappear when it's returned. So as each of these go returned, I want to be able to click on them and hit ACK to make them go away. So we have to do a little bit of work to make that happen today. So let's try and make that happen. Let's close the simulation. Let's go take a look at our current setup that we have here. The first thing we need to do is take a look at our current alarm setup. Let's go take a look. So I have 5 Boolean alarms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now they're all, in this case, Boolean alarms. So I just have this checkbox here. So we're going to take advantage of the field on the right, the parameter field. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to create another variable. So we're going to create an array of bool. And I'm going to make this array a dimension of 5. That way it matches the number of alarms that I need to work with at the end of the day here. So I am going to go into my variables here, and I'm going to add a new variable of that type. Scroll down to the bottom. There's my array 1. And I'm going to call this one alarms. Now, what I do want to do though is I want to link each one of these to these variables, which these variables at the end of the day are my triggers for my alarms. So I'm going to take alarm 0 and I'm going to begin mapping these. Okay, so I finished mapping my this new array to these existing variables. So now that I've got those variables all finished off, I'm going to go back to my alarms. I'm going to reuse the exact same alarm that I have configured here because I've got, for example, cylinder 1 temperature alarm, and I've got a message that goes hand in hand with that. So I don't want to change any of those settings, but I do want to replace the alarm itself, the alarm, variable, and I'm going to assign that one to 0, and I'll assign all of these. Okay, so I've got all my alarms set. So now all my variables are configured here, but now I'm going to take advantage of this parameter field. I'm going to start at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way this is going to work, excuse me, is as I click on the particular alarm, it's going to return back a parameter value that is part of the alarm summary object. And that's going to correspond to 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, which in this case is also going to correspond to 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of my array. So let's go back and take a look at the alarm screen. So on the alarm screen, the way I was getting this acknowledge button to work, there's actually no function associated with this button directly. So if I look at this button, there's none for operation. If I drill into the script portion of the screen, I can see I do have, when I click that particular switch, it's called switch_ACK, that it fires an alarm summary 1 command, and it's specifically going to do an acknowledge. Now, obviously this acknowledge typically works when it's active. I'm going to go ahead and leave that in there, but I'm going to add a little bit of extra code to make all of this magic happen. So now I'm going to go to the tool chest. I'm going to add an if statement. I'll hook that in. Next, I need a comparison. So I'm going to drag this one in. And then what I want to compare is a variable. And I'm going to also compare that to a constant, which is going to be a bool in this case. And the bool will be off. So the idea is we're going to check to see whether the alarm is actually in a return state, which means it's off in this case because I've got all my alarms set to be triggered when they're on. So then I'm going to have it fire the hide command. But first we need to finish filling this in. So obviously I can search through and find alarms, and alarms is made up of an array, but I want to change the 0 here to the alarm summary parameter uh, property. So what I want to do is the easiest way that I find to try and find that particular property is you can't find it through the variable dialog. I go in here, find my alarm summary 1, dot, and we want the selected parameter. I saw it there for a second. There is selected parameter. And then I grab all of this text. Oops, if I can grab it. Here we go. And I replace the 0. So now, if we got all of that right, let's just double check it. Yep, I'm between the brackets. So there's alarm. So it's going to go get the parameter that's returned and return the alarm, and it's going to check to see if that alarm is on or off. In this case, we want it to be off when we're hitting the ACK button. And we're going to run an alarm command. Alarm summary. And in this case, we're going to do a set hide flag. We're going to hide that particular alarm, but I want it to come back when it triggers again, so I'll choose next alarm. So the next time it comes into alarm, it's allowed to not be hidden anymore. And it'll do that on its own. Let's try it. So here we have the alarms already there. We can go through the same process we did before. We can turn on some alarms. Everything should work basically the same. I can still acknowledge these active alarms. But now, if you recall, I clicked on this one before, hit ACK, and nothing happened. Now it disappears. So now I have to resolve these other alarms, and now I can make them disappear one by one. And there we go. So now I can acknowledge a returned alarm, and it hides from an active alarm display. Thank you.